The reason there was not a sheriff's deputy stationed at STEM School Highlands Ranch on the day of that shooting is because of a long-running dispute between the charter school and the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. I want to bring in Kevin Vaughn from our 9 Wants to Know team right off the bat on this. So, Kevin, the sheriff says the reason why there wasn't a deputy there is because the charter school had misused their previous school resource officer. They complained about the cost and then didn't respond to an idea of putting a new one in there.
That's right. These documents that we got today after a records request show that starting last school year there was a dispute between the district and the sheriff's department, and it's clear they had very different ideas about how the school resource officer should be used, what it should cost, and so on and so forth. And they went back and forth for a while, and then last June the sheriff decided he was canceling the contract. So
they had a part-time deputy there at the charter school. Sheriff didn't like the fact that they were using him basically just to direct traffic. The school maintains that the situation that they ended up with that private security guard who responded to the shooting, they think that was sufficient.
Well, we should note, when they had a school resource officer, they had him half-time because they shared him with another school that was about 15 minutes away. So if they had continued that arrangement this school year, there's no guarantee he would have been at the school when the shooting started. The school tells us today they feel like the arrangement with this private security guard did make for a better and safer situation for them.
And lastly, it's pretty clear that the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is trying to get ahead of a controversy on this, or at least something they could blow back at them, because today they dumped a whole bunch of documents related to this dispute.
They did, and if you look at this carefully, you'll see there's a 2-page statement the sheriff prepared today, and there's a much longer memo prepared by another officer that was done today after we requested the contract and to know what was going on with this situation.
All right, Kevin Vaughn, thank you very much. One of the students shot when he rushed at the STEM shooter has announced a recovery goal. Joshua Jones wants to be off of his crutches and walking across the stage at his graduation in 2 weeks. He was shot twice in the leg and hip. He also said that after graduation, he plans to go on an LDS mission. Who remembers when the Longmont Housing Authority scandal dominated headlines on Next? 2 years ago, Longmont was using the homes of low-income people to train their drug dogs without warrants. We pointed out that was super unconstitutional. The city eventually agreed and paid a $210,000 settlement with a promise to never do that again. The Housing Authority long denied that it did anything wrong. A fat check now says otherwise. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
The Longmont Housing Authority will pay $170,000, split between 4 residents of the suites, who sued after their apartments were illegally searched without their permission.
Unfortunately, there were some mistakes made, and we apologize for that.
The apology from Housing Authority Board President Bruce Robbins is also part of the settlement, as is this statement posted on the Housing Authority website. Not all residents gave their consent. It was wrong to say LHA residents do not have the same right to privacy in their dwelling as any resident in the private sector.
We took a look at the organization from top to bottom, because you don't have a problem like this. It's not isolated. It causes you to take a look at the entire organization.
Since the illegal warrantless searches happened 2 years ago today, Robbins tells Next 85% of the Housing Authority employees are new.
We're not proud of that figure. It just kind of worked out that way. We've had a lot of staff turnover. Not necessarily because of this particular incident, but when you have some people that are relatively low paid and they suddenly find themselves in a pressure cooker, they leave.
I took the job because my strength is in organizational change management. I've been involved in 2 other cleanup efforts at 2 other housing authorities across the country.
Jillian Baldwin is one of the new employees. She's run the Housing Authority since September. The previous director, Michael Reese, left after the board saw pictures showing him poke fun at media coverage of the warrantless search.
I will comfortably say we will never have 100% fan base, but we are working very hard to be transparent and rebuild bridges with our residents.
Part of the settlement also requires the Housing Authority to involve the ACLU when crafting their new policies for how and when they will enter a resident's home. And Kyle, something I didn't include in that story was the part where the old board wanted to keep information away from us.
Oh, yeah, there was that. I remember that we were trying to hold a meeting, but they were worried that we might find out and tell the public. Why did it take so long? It's just 2 years ago.
Yeah, I reached out to the ACLU, which was representing the 4 residents, and they tell me that the old management, the people that were involved originally, kept dragging their feet and trying to blame the residents, and it wasn't until this new regime took over that things sped up and we have this settlement.
Good house cleaning at the Housing Authority. Wish them the best. Thank you, Marshall. Denver South High School was on lockout today for the third day in a row. The district put that lockout in place Wednesday as police were searching for a missing student who's accused of making a threat towards the school. Police then found the student unarmed this afternoon, and they lifted the lockout at South, so it's class back to usual on Monday. Our next question comes from a mother in Denver, Julia, who asked, is there any specific legal responsibility a school has to inform parents within a certain time frame if they are in lockdown or lockout? Julia, there's no law requiring school districts notify you about a lockout or a lockdown within a certain time frame, so each district has different policies. Cherry Creek Schools says it tries to notify parents as soon as possible. Jefferson County Schools distinguishes between short lockouts, where they send notice at the end of the day, to lockdowns, where Jeffco says it will notify parents as soon as possible. So we've been talking this week about ranked choice voting. It would be one way to avoid runoff elections in Denver, like the mayor's race runoff next month. Basically, with ranked choice voting, everybody would pick their first choice, but they'd also pick their second choice. If nobody got a majority, like the mayor this last time, then the candidate with the fewest votes down at the bottom, they'd be eliminated, and all their voters' second choices would be tabulated. Every other voter would only have their first choice counted. And Councilman Kevin Flynn said he didn't like that.
I think it might be more fair, and I might be more open to considering it, if everyone's second choices got to count.
So Flynn mentioned yesterday on this program that Denver used to have ranked choice voting before World War II. But a SmartNext viewer named Sawyer Morgan emailed me to correctly point out that Denver used a certain kind of system called Buckland voting, or the Grand Junction system, where it was invented. In that case, everybody's second choice was counted if there wasn't a majority winner initially. So all up and down the ballot, no matter who you voted for, your second choice would count if there wasn't a majority winner. So that would take care of Councilman Flynn's concern. Great catch, Sawyer, by the way. We appreciate that. This is the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad, when East met West at Promontory Point, Utah, with the driving of the Golden Spike. It is all over the news. Next viewer Mark Kavanaugh pointed out to me that the Transcontinental Railroad was built in less time than RTD's G-Line to Arvada. And he's right. Coast-to-coast railroad, 6 years. RTD needed 8 years, from groundbreaking to getting that train to the west side of town. Although another next viewer, Nick Gully, pointed out that RTD did not have slave labor and stolen land to build the G-Line. But back to the Transcontinental Railroad. For today's edition of The More You Know ripoff, we call You Should Probably Know This. The Transcontinental Railroad, the famous one, was not America's first coast-to-coast rail ride. That honor goes to a rail network completed in Colorado in 1870. The Kansas Pacific could claim the title of first coast-to-coast railway network when it made a connection in Strasburg. Passengers on the Transcontinental Railroad, the famous one, had to take a ferry over the Missouri River. The Kansas Pacific's ad in the Rocky Mountain News back in 1870 bragged in big print about its Great Iron Bridge over the Missouri River. The Colorado Miner newspaper wrote at the time that this was big doings for Colorado Territory. This is when we do the old-timey voice. Isolation from business centers of the United States will henceforth be unknown. A prosperous future awaits us. Colorado will, we dare predict, soon be admitted into the Union. The Denver Zoo is building a bank.
We have it from a handful of other species as well, but the majority is elephant and rhino.
Blue blood, not the fancy kind. They just have generations of service coursing through their veins. And we figured this week we could use extra good news. So we're sprinkling it throughout the show. Next and now.
Hey there, meteorologist Daniel Granda here in the 9 News Weather Center. We are looking at a pretty nice forecast. Look at this 7-day for you. We're going to be tracking temperatures in the mid-60s tomorrow, possibly a quick isolated shower, and then heading toward Mother's Day. How about that? Temperatures are going to be warming up dramatically into next week. 79 on Tuesday with a few isolated showers. Wednesday, 76, 81 on Thursday, and then Friday, 74. Still a better shot at seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms coming your way next week. But hey, look at Mother's Day. It looks fantastic. A great day to get out and about, maybe into the garden or just take mom out, right, Kyle? Hope you have some good plans.
Look, Ma, I got you a beautiful day. My mom's in town. I'm so stoked. All right, thank you, Danielle.
You bet.
Plasma is the key to cures and medical discoveries both in humans and in animals. Plasma saved the lives of animals at the Denver Zoo, but the zoo had to just hope that it could get the life-saving stuff from other zoos. Until now. Our Byron Reed has the story.
What's the Asian elephant like?
A day with the animals at the Denver Zoo
because they're different.
can teach us all something new.
He has autism, and we come here to socialize and adapt in the world and enjoy the animals. Elephants. Good job.
Jade Eversole likes giving lessons about the pachyderms, but there is one little fact she didn't know.
Groucho, he's our 49-year-old elephant. He's our plasma donor.
I didn't know they did that here.
Plasma is the liquid part of the blood that has all the antibodies, a lot of immunoglobulins, a lot of special components that we need in terms of treating sick animals.
The zoo's been banking plasma from animals for the past few years.
We store it in a -80 freezer here on site.
After a couple of life-threatening situations.
Dobby the giraffe and Forrest the okapi were a couple of cases in the last couple of years where I had to work with veterinarians at other zoos to get plasma.
We're doing more of it than we have in the past.
Brian Acone is the zoo's senior vice president of animal science and says the collection is to ensure the animal's health.
You could have a critical case that you need it as soon as possible, just like you would in a human. And so having it here allows us to immediately get it versus trying to have it shipped across country.
The big elephant is Groucho. Can you say Groucho?
Groucho.
Wow. Wow.
So visitors like Eversole can enjoy her day at the zoo.
Few sprinkles, but the weather's perfect because the animals love it.
And learn a new lesson about her friends.
That's new, so I actually enjoy the information and the research.
For Next,
Such a fun day.
I'm Byron Reed.
I asked a question about this. The plasma is specific to each species. They don't cross the streams. They freeze it so it'll last 5 years, and they can also share it with other zoos. Next, people who know best just how hard law enforcement work can be on a family still choose it. But more of your good news. First, this one's an update to a good news favorite.
Come on, Remy. Oh, she's laughing. You got it. Go, Remy, go. Go, Remy, go. Go, Remy. Oh, good job. Go, Remy. Go, Remy. Yeah. Come on.
This is the season for commencement ceremonies, caps and gowns, tassels and badges.
We're here because my son Mark is graduating from the Denver Police Academy and is the next generation to step in as a Denver police officer. I could not be more proud. Just a tremendous experience for me, something that I've taken great pride in my entire life, and to be able to see my son step in and to know what he's going to experience over the next 30 or 35 years is just a phenomenal feeling.
Thank you to our spouses, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and friends who have shown and will need to continue to show us your support for the rest of our careers.
Yeah, I was a really young kid watching my dad come home and go to work. I admired the profession and how everyone looked up to cops and looked up to police officers, and watching them interact with the community really gave me something to strive for and something that I wanted to be one day.
The office of police officer.
Police officer.
What a noble career to have your son choose.
Lieutenant Ed Hall, the dad there, is in charge of DPD's Intelligence Bureau. He's been with the department for 25 years. His son, Mark, told us he plans to lean on Dad quite a bit for advice in these first few years on the job. Shall we keep the good news coming? Start off your Mother's Day weekend with more good news from a special party in 5 Points before we get to your feedback next. A celebration for a woman known as the Mother of 5 Points was full of good news today. So let's go.
My good news today is that my grandmother, Zona Moore, is enjoying her day and having a photo shoot at her old business, our old stomping grounds, which is the 5 Points, and we're just happy that she's able to come out and do that. She's been happy all day. Since she got her hair done, it's just a joy to see her. We forgot her teeth.
My good news is the three of us are all together. We're excited. My brother Mick is 86 years old now. I'm 84. My little sister is 82. So we're having a little reunion here, and we're just excited to be alive and to be here with each other.
Our good news is the success of this bakery. Our customers have really made us a success, and we owe it to them.
My good news is I'm always having good news. I work at a coffee shop, so every day is a good day for me.
My good news, for God let me stay here this long, 90-something years.
My good news for today is that this is the 55th year since Daddy Bruce Randolph gave away his first meals. Now we're feeding over 40,000 people a year.
Bona, how old are you?
Ooh, I'll be 94 pretty soon.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. I hope I enjoy Mother's Day too, because that's what I want to do.
94, you should do exactly what you want to do. That was sweet. Sid Dennis writes in to say he wants a whole next done in the old-timey voice. We'll see if we can make that happen. Gwen says, thanks for the good news. We needed it. It's been a rough week for parents in all of Colorado. And on Twitter, a note, did somebody tell you that tie goes with that jacket? Well, no, actually, nobody talked to me about the outfit at all. I'm starting to think that my lack of sartorial checks and balances results in a lot of checks and not much balance. We'll work on it next time.